Hey, Riley here. Wanted to chat a little bit today about how I got into solar. And it's not a linear path exactly, but there has been an interest for me for a long time. So when I was in college, I graduated in '04 from Allegheny College in Pennsylvania, and that's where I'm from. And I got an environmental studies degree, and I learned about renewable energy a little bit there, which planted the seed for me in a way that lasted. And I think part of it was that I was able to interact through a class with somebody who worked in the community there doing some renewable energy and efficiency projects, and that sparked my interest. So I didn't do a lot with it in college other than that, but it was an opportunity to learn at the time. And then after college, I did more advocacy and nonprofit work and community organizing work, some of which was focused on renewable energy, both in New England and then on some campuses where I was a sustainability coordinator in Washington, D.C. and upstate New York. I worked with a lot of students and did some work around getting renewable energy projects going on campus, including solar. And at some point, I just got tired of doing so much work that involved emailing and organizing and administrative kinds of things when I felt like I needed to have an outlet that was more hands on and more technical, and solar felt like the way to do that. And so I had this vision around wanting to start an all female solar company. And I looked into the programs around the country that offered training in solar and installation and design, and one of the ones that I found was San Juan College in northern New Mexico, which was only an hour from Durango, Colorado, where I'm currently living, and where I had been in college one summer for an internship, so I already knew about it. And I really liked it, so I thought, great, it looks like a good program, and I get to live somewhere I want to live. And so I moved out west from DC at the time to do this program. It was a 1 year program for solar PV installation and design. The program also no longer exists, which I'm not totally sure why, but is unfortunate. And I went to the program with about 14 guys, so I was the only female, and there weren't a lot of women in the program at any point, I don't believe, based on what I know from the instructors who were both men as well, and great. But yeah, I enjoyed the experience. I feel like I was behind the guys in a pretty big way because they all came into it, or most of them came into it with construction experience of some sort, and I had none essentially and didn't know how to use all the tools even that well. And so I think that part was hard. The install stuff was tough, but the design side went pretty well for me. And then when I got out, I really couldn't get a job installing solar because the industry was so different then. This was 2008, and I tried to go to California and couldn't get a job there. From Colorado, I was trying to apply for jobs there. And then ultimately, I ended up with a job in Durango doing more advocacy and program work around solar thermal. And then I got a job installing solar thermal systems with this guy, Wilson Block, who became a good friend of mine over the years. And he went out on a limb to help me out pretty much because I wanted to get some hands on experience. And it wasn't in PV, it was different. Solar thermal is more complicated and a lot heavier. So interesting, but did that for, 6 months or a year or something. And I owe Wilson for kind of giving me a chance, really. And ultimately, I ended up leaving Southwest Colorado and going back to New England and getting involved in food systems work and farming, and left behind the solar goals at that point because things just didn't seem to be coming together. And I did stay in touch with Wilson all this time, and he passed away just this year, actually. So that was a sad piece of my life to, yeah, have to say goodbye to. But yeah, I feel like I owe him. And then stayed in New England for a while and ended up leaving New England 3 years ago and coming back to Colorado. And a lot of my connections here were in the energy sector and renewables. I ended up volunteering with a nonprofit called Solar Barn Raising and getting some install time there, as well as doing project management. I left there to go work for a for-profit company installing solar under an electrician, so got some apprentice hours helping on residential electrical and also doing solar. And ultimately had a pretty tough time with that whole situation and some of the ways that I felt like I was being um, talked to and not being treated in a way that helped me really learn. And so it just wasn't an environment conducive for me to keep uh, working towards the goals that I wanted, which was to get the hands on skills with the PV installation so that I could get to a point where I felt more confident in that. So I left that job about a month ago and I just started another job for another company doing installation here in Colorado. And my hope is that I can really build my skills so that I can be fully confident in the PV stuff. And ultimately, I want to be able to train more women in how to install solar and empower more women to think that it might be a career path, and potentially start looking also at girls in middle school and high school and how we can reach more of them so that they also see women in these positions and can see themselves potentially pursuing that too. And I guess one other note I would add is that something interesting that's come up for me is that some guys who are already in the field or who work in the trades have given me this feedback of like, well, why do you want to do the trades work and the install work when you're really good at the organizational stuff, you know, the more the back end project management and talking to customers and some of the sales stuff and all the organizational things. And it's not that I don't want to do any of those things, it's just that it's the part that I don't know very well is this hands-on part and that I haven't had a lot of exposure to until recently. And it's just harder when you don't grow up doing all those things with your hands that I think a lot of guys often get more access to. And so a lot of times I think guys who are in the field who didn't go to college or don't, they feel like they have a chip on their shoulder around this kind of education piece, I think, and sort of see it as being silly that I would want to pursue something that for them maybe feels like something they have to do just to make a living and it's hard on their body, etc. And so that's given me pause, but it doesn't change the fact that I want to be able to install solar and I want to learn those skills so that I can do what I want to do in the future. And so just encourage people not to let that stuff get you down when you hear it. And also, I multiple times on jobs was asked if I was someone's wife or my boss's wife or something because they can't imagine why else there would be a female doing the things that I was doing. So, you know, it's nothing that's like huge. It's those little micro things that happen to you as a woman in a male dominated field that can be super frustrating when they happen regularly. But yeah, just I feel lucky that I've gotten some good opportunities to learn and I hope to just keep doing that and hopefully inspire some other ladies along the way too. Thanks.